Eu sou o Beto Largman, para quem não me conhece, eu sou jornalista e blogueiro. Estou aqui com o Chung Lee, e a gente está numa escola chamada NAVE, que tem como objetivo não somente proporcionar para estudantes de ensino médio do Rio de Janeiro e, no futuro, do Brasil, um acesso à tecnologia para que eles não tenham somente o currículo normal de uma escola de ensino médio, mas também que aprendam as profissões que ainda vão existir. I'd like to know if you could tell our viewers a little bit about your personal and your professional background, okay, please.
Well, I went to undergrad at University of Virginia with a computer engineering degree, and I also did a double major in cognitive science, which is sort of a technology-centric psychology degree. I worked a lot with a professor named Randy Pausch, who recently has become at least pretty well known. And he did a lot of work in virtual reality and worked with Disney on some of their experimental theme park rides, doing virtual experiences. And my experience of working with him, he encouraged me to go to grad school at Carnegie Mellon, and I joined the Human Computer Interaction Institute, which is a doctoral degree focused on interfaces, essentially. And I went there for 8 years, and now I've graduated, and I've actually recently joined Microsoft as a researcher in their applied sciences group.
How do you perceive the power of the internet as an incredible platform for dissemination of ideas, good as well as bad ones? Could you tell us about your personal experience, for instance, with your YouTube videos?
Right. Well, most people know me through watching the YouTube videos, and obviously coming from an academic background, at least in the United States, the normal outlet for publishing and presenting your ideas is to write a paper, submit it to a conference, and then present it to maybe about 200, maybe 300 people at the most. And it was very unusual for a student to publish his work in the format of a YouTube video. But I think people are realizing the power of that, because within about a week, 1 million people have seen it, and I think my most popular video has reached up to almost 6 million views. And that's just simply impossible. If I were to tour around the country giving talks all year round, I couldn't reach even 10% of that people.
You recently made an agreement with Entertainment Arts, one of the biggest developers of computer and video games. What can gamers worldwide expect from this? What kind of games would get the best benefit from the technology you've developed?
Well, gamers, actually it was Electronic Arts is the name of the company. I've actually talked to a couple other companies like Ubisoft and Activision, and they've all expressed interest in exploring something with the head tracking. The benefit that it gives you is it simply makes the 3D experience of a game potentially much more immersive and realistic, because it now responds to your body as if the objects existed in real life. So essentially, for a lot of different types of gameplay styles, it could make the experience much, much better. But it's, of course, up to the developers to actually use it and use it appropriately, because if they force you to move too much, or if that gets in that interferes negatively with the experience, then it's not gonna be a silver bullet. They still need to apply the interface and design appropriately to use it to make an enjoyable experience.
So what kind of games do you like the most?
I have all 3 game consoles of the Wii, the PlayStation, and the Xbox, and each one has a variety of different game experiences. Usually I just look at what's high rated recently, and then I just sort of see what that experience is like. Most recently, I think I finished Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation, and mostly because that whole series is a very unique type of gameplay experience.
Could you tell us 3 movies and 3 musics that you think every person should listen or see at least once in their lifetime?
My favorite set of movies, it's hard to actually narrow it down to a single one, but I think my favorite set of movies are probably the Hayao Miyazaki films, or the Studio Ghibli films. You might recognize like the name Princess Mononoke or Spirited Away. Those are his most recent stuff, but I actually really enjoyed the earlier things, like My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service. These are animations which just have an enormous amount of character depth, especially for an animation, and they're very well done stories, and very well produced. And for music, I used to do a lot of film as a hobby, so I actually like music that it makes a good soundtrack. So when you listen to it, it makes you imagine a scene that goes along with it. Hans Zimmer, the primary composers that I think are good are Thomas Newman and John Williams is okay. I mean, he's good. Old school, but like Hans Zimmer is a big one, and Thomas Newman is probably my favorite one, just because he did like Shawshank Redemption and a lot of these very dramatic films that have a lot of at least conceptual thought goes along with them. Anyway, those are good.
How do you think technology can play an important role in the reduction of the global social and economical imbalances?
Well, the great thing about technology is that it increases a person's capability. You know, once you have a laptop, you can now write documents, you can perform mathematical operations, which you couldn't do before. And once you have an internet connection, you can now democratize the access of information. So technology is a process of taking something which previously required a lot of money or a lot of labor and empowering a single individual with that. So in that sense, technology sort of inherently reduces some of that imbalance. Once you start focusing on technology, which is very accessible and very cheap, and figuring out how to get most of the capability provided by the very high-end systems at very low cost, you can then not only give like 10 people that capability, but now you can give 10,000 people that capability. And then that increasingly democratizes the sense of technology and makes everyone on an equal playing ground and lets people sort of experience their full potential.
What do you like to do on your spare time?
Well, the working on the Wiimote was what I was doing on my spare time, because it was a side project not related to my thesis work at Carnegie Mellon at all. So you saw what I do in my spare time.
Today you visited the NAVE project. What kind of instruments with the technology you are researching could be used in education and medicine? What will we see in these fields?
Well, the projects I've worked on mostly have dealt with using a camera to do motion tracking rather than an accelerometer. And once you have good motion tracking, there's a lot of applications, like you mentioned, in education, for creating the interactive whiteboards, for creating low-cost educational tools. You could scale it down to an individual student's desk or an individual worker's desk as well. The medical community, which does a lot of 3D visualization, also can easily benefit from the head tracking technology, simply because it gives people a much richer and deeper understanding of the spatial relationship of virtual objects. So I think in general, a lot of computer vision applications computer vision algorithms are starting to become mature enough that consumer products could be made using that tracking technology. So,
how do you think the development of the new technologies will impact our lives in the near future?
In the next few decades, I mean, Brazil is a good example of adopting new energy technologies. And in the next few decades, we're going to see a lot of progress in technology. So it's hard to actually pick one particular field that I think is going to be the winner. Interface technology is going to continue to be interesting because it's going to allow new ways to interact with computers. But it's also important to think about the applications of what you are manipulating and why you're manipulating it. So the computer is just a tool to do something else.
Concerning the technology field, could you tell us a little bit about this, your personal perception of what's going on in the world since you've been traveling a lot?
I've been able to visit a lot of places within the United States and some places outside of the United States. And there's definitely, I visited very technology-centric places simply because of the nature of what I do and the nature of what people found out about them. But I've been very impressed with places, for example, like this place here in Rio de Janeiro, where the school has done at least a very strong effort to try to integrate technology into the educational program, which in my experience beats out many of the schools I've seen in the world, including things I've seen in the United States. So I think this is a rather exceptional piece of work here. In general, when I talk about, when I give my presentations about what my future work is going to be, I sometimes say that the ultimate goal of at least gaming experiences or virtual experiences is the Star Trek holodeck. So the holodeck is this room that you can step into and everything seems real, even though it's computer generated or computer controlled. So that involves a lot of input technologies that have not been created, and also a lot of display technologies and output technologies that haven't been created. So the bottleneck between that experience or that science fiction concept and where we are today is the interface technology. So there's a lot of sort of close proximity technologies, either from touch input or biometric sensing to wearable displays, to motion capture systems that are all could be made improvement. All have lots of opportunities for improvement for getting realistic virtual experiences. So,
I want to thank you very much for you to coming at NAVE. E, enfim, nós voltamos com o Descolagem no dia 6 de setembro, a partir das 2h30 da tarde, com transmissão ao vivo. Quem estiver no Rio pode se candidatar a participar pelo site do NAVE, que é www.onave.org.br. Super obrigado. Thank you very much once again. Tchau, tchau, gente.